Hey everybody, it's Yolanda here from Don't Get It Twisted Crochet, and today it's Crochet Tip Tuesday. And normally I do my crochet tips on Instagram, but today I wanted to do a quick video with my crochet tip because it was a little more detailed than what I wanted to put on Instagram. And so I wanted to come and talk to you guys about yarn substitution. So we have all been there. We find the perfect pattern, whether it be in a new crochet book or magazine. And, of course they tell you, what yarn they use for the pattern. And sometimes they give you suggestions or other yarns that can be used. But of course, we may not have that particular yarn in our stash. And we immediately think, I have this other fabulous yarn in my stash that I want to use for this particular project. And so I just want to give you 3 quick tips on 3 things that I always pay attention to before I do a yarn substitution. It helps me to make sure that I'm not using yarn unnecessarily, if there's such a thing to use a yarn unnecessarily, because there's always a good reason to use yarn, but to not waste my time using yarn on a particular project and then it turns out that it's not going to work. And so first thing I look for is the yarn weight. So the Craft Yarn Council has come up with like some general guidelines for packaging yarn and how to describe yarn weight. And so they assign numbers from 0 to 6, with 0 being the finest or like your lace weight type yarns, and then 6 being your bulky or what I call chunky yarns. And so what we see most often, or what people tend to use most often, is going to be your number 4 or your medium worsted weight yarns. This is your Cairn Simply Soft, your Vanna's Choice, your Red Heart Super Saver. All of those are number 4 worsted weight yarns. And so that's what you see most often. But like I said, the numbers range from 0 to 6, with 0 being the lightest or the finest weight, and then 6 being the bulkiest or the chunkiest weight yarn. So that's the first thing you want to look at. You want to make sure that you're getting yarn in the same weight category. And I'm not saying that you can't use yarn outside of the weight category that they're suggesting, but just know that your project is going to come out smaller or larger if you decide to use a different weight. The next thing you want to think about outside of the weight is then the fiber content. Are they using 100% cotton? Is it 100% wool? Is it 100% acrylic? Is it a mixture of those things? You want to try to match the fiber content as much as possible, because this is what's determining your stitch definition. So when you're working on the particular project, you know how if it has a distinct pattern and you want that pattern to show up in your project, that is determined by the fiber content. The fiber content is helping determine how that stitch definition is going to be seen in that particular pattern. So you want to find yarn in the same weight category and then also with the same fiber content. And then last but not least, you want to do something that I will go ahead and admit right now, I never do. I should do, but I never do. But I'm telling you guys to do it because I want to save you as much time as possible. And I want you to finish projects that you're very proud of. And so it's a gauge swatch. I know we hate them. It feels like you're wasting yarn doing a gauge swatch. But in all actuality, the gauge swatch is really going to let you know if the yarn you want to use is going to work for that particular pattern. Because even if you get the same weight category, even if you get the same fiber content, it could still very well be you don't like the color scheme, it's still not showing the stitch definition that you thought it would. And when you're getting into looking at or using hand spun and hand dyed yarns, I'm telling you, it's very hard to even put those yarns into a category, because what someone else considers a worsted weight may be what I consider a DK weight or a number 3 weight. So it gets that line gets grayed when you're not looking at like I said, when you're looking at using hand spun and hand dyed yarn. So you want to do the gauge swatch to make sure the yarn is really going to work with the pattern. And so just as an example, I actually did some gauge swatches of 3 yarns that I use most often. Everybody knows that I love, or you should know, I love Cairn Simply Soft. I use this for all my slouchy beanies, and it is a number 4. That is a 4 there. Sorry about the bright light, but that is a 4 there. It is a number 4 worsted weight yarn, but it has a drape to it. It's not a very sturdy yarn, which is why I like it for my slouchy beanies, because it gives the slouchy effect that I want. But it has a slight sheen to it. Nice yarn. Like I said, I use it for all my slouchy beanies. But this is a number 4 worsted weight yarn. I also use Vanna's Choice a lot for blankets and for amigurumi, like for dolls and toys and stuff like that. Again, this is also a number 4, and you probably can't see that 4, but there's a 4 right there. Oh gosh, the light is horrible. There is a 4 on this package as well, to also suggest that this is a worsted weight yarn. Now, look at the difference between this and when I was holding up the Caron Simply Soft. You can see, even just from me holding them up, look how the Caron Simply Soft, like I said, it will drape. I mean, I have to hold that tight. I'm not holding this one that tight, and it's holding up on its own versus the Caron Simply Soft. And it looks like it's a thicker yarn, but like I said, they're both considered a number 4 worsted weight. And then last but not least, we have Red Heart Super Saver. Now, I don't use Super Saver a lot for my own personal reason. I know a lot of people say it's itchy and it's rough. Super Saver can be softened, and I do use Super Saver. I don't use it a lot, but I do use Super Saver. Again, it's a sturdy yarn. It works great for blankets and scarves and dishcloths and things like that. But it's very comparable to the Vanna's Choice when we're looking at it as far as how it's wound together. See, they have about the same thickness. You'll notice the Vanna's Choice looks a little less, I guess, fuzzy or less plied than the Super Saver, but they are pretty comparable. I wish you could touch them, because then you could see the difference in how they actually feel. But like I said, I did do gauge swatches in all 3 of them. This is my gauge swatch for the Caron Simply Soft. I had to do it in a different color because that orange color, was a little too bright. But as you can see, this is a stretchy yarn. Like I said, it has a nice shine to it. It does not have a lot of stitch definition with this. So you want to do just your regular basic stitches with Caron Simply Soft, single crochet, double crochet, because you're not going to see a whole lot of definition with Caron Simply Soft. Then I did the swatch in Vanna's Choice. And again, now see this one, see how tight those stitches are compared to the Caron Simply Soft. And even if I put these up next to each other, I used the same size needle, a number 5, or crochet hook, a number 5 crochet hook. Look at the difference in height on those. And I did the same thing. I did 2 rows of single crochet, 2 rows of half double, and 2 rows of double crochet on both of them. But this one has about a ½ an inch more than the Caron Simply Soft does. Again, but they're both considered number 4 worsted weight yarns. And then last but not least, again, the Super Saver. The Super Saver and the Vanna's Choice came out about the same. They're pretty much the same size, but to me, the Vanna's Choice still gives the best stitch definition. This one has great stitch definition, the Super Saver, but not as nice as the Vanna's Choice. So if I was making a sweater or something that had a very unique pattern and called for a worsted weight yarn, this would probably be my go-to, the Vanna's Choice, because I already know for a fact that it's going to show that stitch definition versus the other worsted weight yarns. So those are all things to consider when you're looking at doing a yarn substitution. Like I said, number 1, you want to consider the weight of the yarn. Number 2, you want to consider the fiber content. And last but not least, you want to take the time to do a gauge swatch. So there you have it. As always, remember, don't get it twisted, get it crocheted.